Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Alex Bress here with Angler Sports Center, and we're going to bring you your weekly fishing report. First off, remember, tomorrow, January 4th, we got our gun bash. Good sales, seminars, everything you need. Make sure you come by. It's all day tomorrow. It's only tomorrow, so make sure you come by to get those great deals. Make sure you check our details on our website. Go through our feed on Facebook down there, and you'll see a lot of great info about that tomorrow. So let's get started on our actual fishing report here and see what's going on. Now, for most of you guys, put your boats away already and, kind of called it quits for your bay fishing. There's still a lot of great things to do throughout the area here in Central Maryland. One thing, that a lot of people have been doing is walking the creeks around here in pretty much Central Maryland, like the Little Patuxent River itself. And this is, it runs through pretty much like Savage all the way down to Odenton, Crofton, all those areas. But the upper parts there, surprisingly for a lot of you guys that don't know, hold a decent amount of smallmouth bass. So people have been catching smallmouth bass, some fall fish, and some rainbow trout in the upper parts of those creeks. So that's what's going on in this area here in the central. The creeks around the area, like the Magothy and the Severn, have been going through a couple of stages of some sort of water quality problems, and I'm not an expert, but apparently there's some algae bloom kind of going on right now, which is weird because it's cold water. But there are some sections in the rivers that have poor water, quality water there. It's not the greatest. So, but there is pickerel, there is some yellow perch around those areas. Just make sure you kind of search around. If you're on a boat, if you're on a kayak or something, move around. If you're fishing from Beechwood, we have not heard anything too crazy, just a standard, some yellow perch here and there, whites and pickerel. Severn River itself has been the same story in that area, with most of those fish just kind of being hit or miss. Like I said, move around. Minnows are going to be the best bet. But if you're willing to drive to the eastern shore and fish a lot of these ponds like Wye Mills, Tuckahoe, Smithville Lake, and all those areas, they're going to be great fishing for your pickerel. Bass fishing. Bass fishing can actually be pretty good, and you'll catch some big bass this time of the year in all those lakes I just named. So some of the lures I like to use for this time of the year for bass fishing, classic is, rattle trap. I personally like the striking red eyes. Those two colors are like the best colors. You're going to have the gold and then the typical shine, shad color. So those will work great, and also your crankbaits. Great search bait. Same thing, those are the, I think, the 1.5, so I like to stay a little bit smaller this time of the year. Work them throughout, the water columns, mainly the drop-offs, and you'll find some fish that way. Going back to all around, just great lure for pretty much everything kind of bites this. It's a Ned rig, especially these elastic ones. You got the little craw imitation and the regular, pretty much tier D worms, and those things float. So I use that a lot in those rivers that I just mentioned, like the Patuxent, the Gunpowder, and all those little creeks. And I like to use a 1/8 and even smaller jig heads like that, and just kind of work them on the bottom. You'll catch a lot of different species with that. Besides that, in the bay itself, there's still some fish on the rock piles. Like I always mention, there is fish in there all year long. Just go to the main rock piles and you will find rockfish in there. Use a 1-ounce jig, 7-inch plastic, 6-inch plastic, and you will catch them. Besides that, way down south, you're finding, still a couple fish. A lot of guys are actually fishing the mouth of the Potomac now into Virginia waters, and catch some good fish on the troll in between 50, 60 foot of water, pretty much the channels and the channel edges down there. The actual fishing right now in the ocean kind of has been hit or miss. A lot of those fish have just moved way out past the 3-mile zone and south. So if you're willing to do that and go out there and make that run, you might be able to find some fish a little bit, south of Chesapeake Island and whatnot. For you surf fishermen, they're still catching a few here and there, but nothing crazy. Talk fishing still pretty good in the inlet, and the typical rock fish here and there. Besides that, like I mentioned, check the DNR website, because they are still stocking trout, and that's pretty much one of those things where you can go to those designated areas and catch some rainbows, some of those golden trout, and even some of those brown trouts in some of the area. Another little lure I like to use for pickerel around this area here in the Magothy and the Severn, it's a Gambler, and that's a 3.5 inch. I like that color in general, and I like to put it on their actual jig head here. That's an underspin. 5/16s. With that, it's a killer combo, so make sure you check that out because you'll catch pretty much a little bit of everything with that. Crappie and all those, panfish, the panfish fishery pretty much has been great. And Unicorn Lake right now, I've been hearing a lot of people catching decent sized crappie and bluegills up there. So as Y mills, so make sure you check that out. Get some minnows, small jigs, 132nd, 116, and that's all you need there. But like I said, there's still some fishing going on. There always is, unless there's ice on the water. But that's it for your fishing report. Make sure you come by and check us out tomorrow for that gun sale. Check all the details on our website, and you guys have a good one.